Welcome to another episode of Morning Mojo with me, Shane Solomon, and getting straight into the content this morning with Jay Anne. Jay Anne's here. Jay Anne, look, it's not about money.
It's never about the money.
What?
Damn right.
Why not?
It's never about the money, and that's where everyone's getting it wrong.
Oh, this is where I've been going wrong all these years. Actually, I do believe, like you, it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. People over profits, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Look after the people. Money will come, reap what you sow, all those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So this is the Morning Mojo podcast. It's to help inspire people on their journey. Now, you're the queen of this. I've been watching your journey over the last few years since I got to know you through your partnerships networking. And you're on fire at the moment. But just give me a little bit more about, why it's not about the money. Why is it not?
It's not about the money because if we focus on the money, we lose why we're doing what we're doing. We lose the traction. And I also think when we make it about the money in business, you miss the person. And I'd love to give you an example if I can.
Do it.
I was working with a client that had been referred by somebody, and she was in Scotland. She'd never worked with a coach before, ever, and actually detested therapists. Anyway, long story short, we got on a call, had a very good conversation, ticking lots of boxes. And I said, are you ready to understand what it's like to work with me? And she said, oh, yeah. I said, great. So I went through, we worked together 3 months. This is what it looked like. We'll have online calls because she's based in Scotland. She said, okay. I said, are you ready for the investment? And she said, yeah. So I said, the investment, I said, 2,500. And I kid you not, she starts moving away. And I said, what's happening? And she had earbuds in that were connected, and it started to get taut, and her face changed colour and her skin changed.
Wow.
And if in that moment I'd have made it about the money, I'd have let her go.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I just said to her, what's happening? You're moving back. And she said, I am. And she caught herself. And in that moment, she was able to catch herself in that moment and start to speak as to why the money became a problem. It wasn't the money. It was nothing to do with the money. And all the fears came out, and she had lots and lots of beliefs. And we nipped them all, understood them all, cleared them all, helped her see through them. She signed up. We had an amazing time, changed her life. If I'd have made it about the money, I'd have let her down.
Okay. All right. Now, dealing with nightmare clients, that's a good question that I've got on my prompt card today. How do you deal with nightmare clients, Jay Anne?
Okay, so I don't believe there are any nightmare clients. I believe it's the responsibility you take as to how you bring yourself to the conversation. So if somebody is, as we would assume to be a nightmare client, I don't know, let's say they are ghosting you. Let's say they're being really difficult. Let's say they're calling you or messaging you all hours of the day. Or let's say they're asking for something that's not within the plan that you'd planned.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that's all on you. That's your boundaries. That's your clarity. That's your communication. It's not them. As human beings, we from children love to push boundaries, because when we push a boundary, we understand where the rule is. Cool. If there's no rule, we keep going, as actually that's safety. When we know where the rule is, we're safe. So clients will keep pushing until they get a pushback, and that's safety. But the perception is they're a nightmare client. It's not the client.
Well, that's interesting, because I've had this before or many times when you have what we call a can you just client. So you kind of said what you're going to do for the investment. And then when you finish, in our case, it's video editing, you send it over there and say, oh, can you just change that bit? And can you just change that? And you're going back and forth. But I should just turn around and say, no.
Because
you've hit your boundary. It's been outlined.
Yeah. So if you think of a child, they will keep going. We all know those children, whether it's a nephew or our own children, they will keep pushing. And the parents are, they keep pushing. Yes. Help them feel safe and stop and say no, or help them understand why. In your case, with that situation, a reminder, this is what we agreed. This is why we agreed it. And this is where we are. If you'd like more, this is what this looks like.
Sure.
Because otherwise you will start, if you just did that, resentment kicks in.
It does, big time.
Yeah. And then you're not giving them your all, which will start to affect your values.
Yes.
Then they'll want more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Just realign the boundary.
Yeah. And that comes to making decisions when you've had enough or when you've reached that boundary, you've got to, make a decision. So psychologically, what's behind decision making for you?
What's behind decision making for me is checking in on where I am and why I'm making that decision. And often I see this in my clients. But what's really cool is I can then reflect it with me. Whenever I have a session, I always come away from it and think, okay, what came up in that conversation that I can now learn from? And the decision making that I've learned probably within the last 2 to 3 months, actually, that's been really profound, is to remove the emotion. When you come from a decision making situation with emotion, you're not coming to your true self because your emotions are led from beliefs, environments, your past. Most of our little people, so for instance, little Jay will show up in her emotion in a challenging situation and she will say yes or no because she's scared or because she's fighting. If we remove the emotion, we can use the logical of where we are now with our knowledge and experience, we'll get a better outcome.
Okay. So I'm just going to put this question in the moment. So where on your journey, because you're still very young, but where on your journey did it kind of kick in for you to go, do you know what, I need to think this way? Because when we're growing up, I remember being at school and I used to think I could achieve anything. And then something happened between, like, secondary school and leaving school. You think you start doubting yourself a bit more. Um, well, actually, not my case. Actually, I didn't, but most people do. And you get a little bit of that. But so for you, have you always been very, clear minded of your vision?
Two situations. First one, 17, just had a baby. And in that moment, I something happened. I've just had a baby. Good. I've no idea what's going on. And I just said, enough is enough. And that was linked to my upbringing and the way I'd gone through my environment. And I now had this baby. And I just thought, I've no idea what I'm doing. And I actually applauded that I didn't have a clue what I was doing because I didn't want to repeat what had happened before. And fortunately or unfortunately, that lit such a fire in me that I was a steamroller. So probably for the next 10 to 15 years, I steamrolled through life in protecting her, protecting me, keeping safe. And those people that would have known me back then, I'm a very different person now. And the second time would have been when I started to really explore coaching and NLP and human behavior and communication. During one of those sessions, I caught myself and thought, I'm not broken. I don't need fixing, but I do think differently from other people. And that's okay. And that dropped probably about 3 years ago. And that was another big change for me in life.
Because there's a lot of people out there. And the idea for doing this podcast and committing to doing it 5 days a week and getting some amazing people on is because there's still so many people in the world that are confused and still looking, for their purpose, looking for some kind of a
Mm,
motivation. And of course, there's lots of motivational kind of speakers out there on YouTube, things like that. But of course, I just wanted to come at it from a kind of a local angle and things like that, because sometimes people relate to people they can see and can
mm.
physically meet if they wanted to. Um, yeah, I think it's all about awareness, don't you think? I think we owe it to our fellow humans to kind of spread the
Yeah.
love, if you like, of
Yeah.
knowledge.
And I would actually say for any being anywhere in any situation, and awareness can be on different levels. Like you say, there's those that we can't touch because they're up there and they're big. That feels great. But you then separate from them and you don't feel that you can do what they can do.
Mm.
And there's those around that just see things a bit differently. And I would say, get around those people, be around those people. Most of those people have self awareness and recognize we all have choice. You don't need to know what to do or how to do it, but you've got to recognize you've got choice. And I think one of the key things that people can immediately take action on is nobody makes you feel anything you don't want to feel. So if you come back to the emotion, as we were saying earlier, they made me feel sad. They made me feel angry. They didn't. We're doing sad. We're doing angry. If you can immediately come to choice of you have control over that, within that second, you will change. You will change how you show up and how you control yourself and own yourself.
Things to change, we have to change, right?
Mm.
So, what do you do when things aren't working? So, we all get those days, and in an ideal world, it's all rainbows and unicorns, but it's not. Things show up. It's how we deal with them and move on. So, what do you do to address those kind of things that doesn't go Jan's way?
Most things don't go my way, and that's because I am very neurodiverse and there's a lot going on in my head every minute of the day. So I actually recognize that not everything's going to be okay. But what do I do when things get really tough for me?
Mm.
I'll exercise, I'll punch a bag, because I need to release that emotion, that feeling. And for me, it normally becomes a ball of strength that needs to come out. So it could be punching the bag. It could be driving. Driving's a really good one for me.
Mhm. With music?
Driving, music, loud music. I'll cry. I will release. I can shout. I can scream. I can sing really loud. I love singing.
Very good.
And that release, so it's a release. It's because I could sit at a desk and I could try and fathom it out, but my logical brain won't function if I don't let my emotion, my singing, my releasing, my crying, my body, if I don't let that out, and that's where I think procrastination, uh, fog, mind blocks come in because actually there's something in your body that just needs to come out. Release it.
It's all energy at the end of the day, right?
Mm.
Stress and resilience, it's the same sort of thing I've been talking about there, how you deal with things when they're not working. But stress is the same sort of thing for you then, the same
Mm.
sort of emotions, right?
Mm. Yeah. And in that, again, I think people are conditioned, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Well, actually, think to look a different way, go do a different thing, and you'll get a different outcome. But because we can keep going, 9 to 5, I've got to keep working, or I've got to get this project done. Just step away, put some music on, have a dance, go for a run, um, listen to some comedy. Something that changes you emotionally. You'll then go back and, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that.
Mm.
Or, oh my god, it's not as bad as it seems.
Sure. So, for those listening to this right now, for those watching this back on YouTube or whatever, what kind of advice would you give them that can change their day to day? Something simple that can start off, their day for their morning mojo.
The simplest thing is have awareness and observe yourself of how much others are controlling you. So if you took your day to day and solely focused on you, your words, your actions, and just observe, nothing difficult. Don't try and change anything, but just observe. Very quickly, you'll start to recognize one, things aren't as bad as you think they are. And two, you could do so much more than you think you can when you start to bring yourself just to yourself. And you'll probably also see there's a lot of other people that you're letting in, that you're absorbing, or they're rubbing off on you, or they're kind of irritating you. And then once you start to get a good awareness of that, then the rest, you'll take care of the rest easily.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned about the people around you and things like that. We are surrounded by people that will have a negative draw on us for sure. And there's a couple of podcasts and things I've listened to in the past where they say, stay away from the 98%, and just gravitate to those 2% of the
Mm,
people in your circles that make you feel
mm,
good. Not saying that they're bad people,
mm,
these 98%, but they're just not right for your vibe.
mm.
They're not right for the way that you want to conduct your life. And
And on that,
mm.
that can be family too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, it's not just the people you're around that you can go, oh, we're just not going to be around those
Yeah,
people.
right, yeah.
If it's your family, or actually, it could be a spouse, and it could
Yeah,
just be
yeah.
something that's a little bit challenging.
Divorce.
It
Off
could
you go.
be those things.
Mm,
You've got to live your true life. But in those situations, here's a tip, and it might sound a little bit woo woo. I am a
mhm.
little bit woo curious
Go
because I'm
on.
open to a lot.
Woo
But you
curious. I like that.
can
Mm,
choose to have your own cape. So in those moments, if you're going into a family situation, and let's be fair, the world says we should all love our family, which I think is utter that word, um, because we all choose to be the humans we are. But if you're going into that situation, you can choose to have an invisible cape and wrap the cape round you,
mhm.
because you will choose not to absorb what's coming. You can still be in that room, you can still be present, but you don't have to absorb it in. You don't have to make it then about you. And when you leave, just try it. And again, it sounds a bit crazy, sounds a bit woo woo. what's the worst that can happen if you just think, oh, here's my cape. My cape is blue and it's sparkly and it's glittery. Like, who cares what it is? It's yours.
Mm.
But they won't know about it. And when you're in that situation, the control and strength that you will find in yourself to go, yeah, just wash it away. Just brush it away. That's cool. And you will feel so much better.
I like that. I've got my cape on right now. You can't see it, but it's absolutely amazing. So tell me your inspirations for life then, Jam. Where do you pull your inspirations from?
My future self. So I very much lean into my younger self, my present self, and my future self, because I've had a lot of challenges in my life, let's say. A lot of people let me down, a lot of situations that have not been great. But I know my younger self, myself, and my future self are going nowhere. And my younger self often likes to keep me safe, and she'll have a little tantrum every now and then, and she'll, Jay, are we okay? And I'll say, yeah, we're good. We've got this. My now self is about allowing me to actually step into my shoes and be who I am unapologetically. But my future self will always give me some more. Come on, we've got more. I'm waiting for you. We've got this. And that's it. And that's probably come from when I was younger. I didn't have anyone to look up to, and I had to find a way. And they're not going anywhere. They're always going to be there for me. But in and around that, I do listen to lots of podcasts. I listen to lots of inspirational people, lots of people that are a bit risque sometimes. And they motivate me. They really do.
Now, here's a question I'm just going to chuck in because we're running out of time, but this is the question, and I don't want this to be morbid or anything, but one day we're all going to die, right? So we're going to go. And when we transition and we go on to the next phase, and we're at the last sort of minutes and you're like slipping away from this world, what at that point would have Jay Anne achieved?
Everything she wanted. But the key thing she'll have achieved is that her voice continues after death.
The legacy bit.
My legacy is my inspiration, my get-go, my choice, all of that. And once upon a time, it was just for my children. It's way more than that now. And I'm striving now. So the day that I do pass on, the day I take my last breath, everyone remembers not Jay Anne, but that voice of resilience and choice and excitement of life, because we only have one.
Indeed. And you are a force. You're a great energy. It's been amazing having you in here. Now, just for those people that are watching and listening, just to sum up what you do and how people get in contact with you and say, I like this lady's speaking, give them the details now,
So I would just say Jay Anne. There's not many Jay Annes in the world. So just LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll find me. What do I do? I'm a coach. I'm a mentor. I'm just about to release a brand new business, which is really exciting. Funny enough, linked to legacy.
Yeah.
But just, I'm online. Just find me. And you'll get from this. I love communication. I love behavior, but I will help you get out of your own way. And that's my legacy to you.
Well, what an absolute pleasure. Have you enjoyed it?
Loved it.
It's great. You're a natural at doing this as well. So as always, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Megan and Jay, the team here producing these wonderful podcasts. I couldn't do it without them. And make sure you subscribe, like, follow, all the rest of it. I've absolutely enjoyed having Jay Anne in here on the sofa as well. And make sure you connect with this lovely lady. But until next time, I'll see you on the next podcast. Take care. See you soon.